But again, I mean, that was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, there was a funeral going on about 200 yards away from where I was at. I mean, it was a very, very active place publicly when I caught that EVP. So I absolutely love daytime investigating.
I do too. I can get just as much then, as long as you're not around where there's a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
But and then try to investigate a place at night, even if it's close to the road or something like that, and there's a lot of traffic. You have problems doing that
Yeah,
also.
if you're going to some of these bigger cities, even if you're in an empty building, even at 1 o'clock in the morning, you're still hearing the bar crowds out there being crazy.
Oh
Loud
yeah,
stereo systems,
yeah,
people yelling from street to street or whatever.
yeah.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
in some of these cities, it's impossible to even get a quiet time to even do anything, especially at night.
yeah. And the old adage is true. If it's haunted at night, it's haunted in the daytime.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Sure.
It,
Now, oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead. I'm sorry, Barbara. I didn't mean to cut in.
oh, no, I was just going to say if you found that to be true and if you're picking up just as much, and do you favor just a voice recorder as a method for gathering data?
I do, just simply because it's easy. It's easy to carry. I don't have to maintain it. I don't have to check the batteries constantly in it. I can literally carry. If you look in my center console of my truck right now, you will find a voice recorder in there. And let me tell you something. Back in the day, I used to be a professional window cleaner. Okay, I didn't work with TJ, in case you were wondering. Um, him and I got into almost like the same field. And even now that I run a business, I still offer window cleaning, but I'm an exterior cleaning company. Um, so there were times when I'm literally inside of a customer's house and I'm cleaning windows. And a lot of times when you do the inside of a customer's house, they just sit and do their thing, whether they're doing a crossword puzzle at the breakfast table or whether they're sitting there reading the TV guide and watching daytime soaps. You're just going through the house doing your thing until you're done. And I go out to this house and I'm washing windows, and I'm actually doing this mirror at the end of this long hallway. Now, this house was probably about 30 or 40 years old. It wasn't really old. It was a beautiful log cabin, but farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm doing this mirror, and I see this guy walk behind me from one door to the other in the reflection of the mirror. I honestly thought that there was a man inside of this house. It was just me and this old widow woman, but I hadn't known that at that point in time. So as I'm going through, I walk down that hallway to kind of see, because I'm like, did that guy leave? Is he in our bedroom? Where's this guy at? There's nobody there. So I go into that room because it's the next room that I had to go to clean the windows in. And I was actually doing a little bit of some repair work on the sash of the window because I do window repair too. And I felt something tap me on my shoulder, just like somebody walked right up behind me and just kind of, just give you a tap on your shoulder like, hey. And I turned around and nothing was there. And at that point in time, I got to be honest, the hair literally stood up on end. The back of my neck, my arms, goosebumps, the whole 9 yards, because I knew now that's two incidences in about 15 minutes. That's happened to me. That was very highly questionable. So I go down I'm on the ground floor and I'm doing this lady's great room windows, and she's telling me about her husband. Her husband was an engineer and he designed the house that we were in, and it was his dream to build this thing. They were married for 45 years or whatever, but within a month of completing this house, he died of a massive heart attack unexpectedly.
Wow.
Okay. She had showed me a picture that was of her husband on the fireplace mantel. Now, this was a photograph of them probably 30 years ago, so it was a much younger version of him and her. The photo of the guy was exactly who I saw on the second floor of the home when I was doing the windows.
Hmm.
Now, I didn't say that to the lady. It wasn't for me to, I don't mix business and pleasure in my hobbies, and I certainly don't bring things like that. But I knew for a fact that guy was still in that house for some reason. I couldn't tell you why.
Wow.
But it wasn't even probably about 45 minutes later. I'm out in the garage. I'm almost done with the inside of the windows, and I felt that tap on my shoulder again. I had about 3 more windows to do, and I'm not going to lie to you. I got the hell out of that place. And it wasn't just simply because I was freaked out about it, but I was literally disturbed because I felt like this guy was following me around and he wouldn't leave me the hell alone. That part, and then I was sitting there thinking, God, it would, this must be what it's like to be a psychic or somebody who's sensitive, who's always being bombarded by different wavelengths and vibrations all the time in these weird feelings. I didn't like it at all, to be honest with you. And the next time that job came up on my schedule, I literally rescheduled it for another guy. I never went back in that house again. And at that point in time, I was a paranormal investigator for 10 years, So, I looked for it. But when I didn't want to experience it, I certainly didn't want to be bothered by it. And for some reason, being on my job, being in a different mindset, that really bothered me.
Huh. I'd have asked, if you'd have known he was there, I'd have asked, am I doing a good job on the windows?
Well, but kind of that was part of my thought process at first, is I should speak to this guy, ask him what he wants. But at the same time, I didn't want the old lady to think that I was talking to myself.
Ah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of an open layout, because where the hallway began, right on the other side of where I saw him walk from door to door, is an open loft that overlooks the living room where she was sitting and doing her crossword puzzle.
So she
if I was saying something, she probably would have been like, "What did you say?" You know what I'm saying? So, I didn't speak out loud, but I kept looking over my shoulder. I can tell you that right now.
And she never mentioned anything about her husband might still be around, huh?
No, because if she had, if she would have opened that door, I would have certainly walked through it.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I'm not the kind of person that just blatantly sees things like that. That's the thing about me. I've seen a lot of shadow figures. I've seen some partial apparitions. I've seen full body apparitions for seconds at a time. Hell, I watched a pair of legs walk across the basement and no body attached to it whatsoever.
Really?
Yes, just the legs.
Wow.
Yep. And that's a whole different type of, what the hell did I just see?
Yeah.
So you may have just seen the DNA of a ghost because it was just the genes.
Just the genes.
I see what you did there. I seen what you did there. And I'll be honest with you. If it wasn't for these little pieces of these personal experiences that we've had, or that I've had, it would be very, very hard to continue on in the field 16, 17 years into it,
Right.
For 5 years, we were investigating 3 weekends out of 4 in a month.
Huh.
So we were literally still trying to review evidence from the last investigation when we're going out and collecting an entire book full of it, from another investigation.
Wow.
You tire yourself out very quickly when you do that. You burn yourself out very fast.
Yeah. Now, some, like private homes, I've gotten some really good stuff from some of those that I've done. Preble County Historical Society, I've gotten some good stuff. But there was one house in Middletown, in northern part of Middletown, and a house in, I forget what that little town is. It's just to the west of Middletown. And those 2 homes, I've had the most activity for EVPs that I've collected anywhere. The one home, we had a little girl who actually held a conversation with us. And we had a medium that was sitting next to me. And I was trying to talk to this little girl because the owner of the house said there's this little girl. And I'm trying to talk to her. And after a little bit, this medium says, she's standing right in front of you. I said, oh, really? Because I couldn't see anything. But I'm getting the camera out. I'm going to try and take a picture, see if I catch something. And the other guy that's sitting there with us, Mark, he said, honey, can Henry take your picture? And the recorder picks the little girl up saying, I'm smiling.
Oh, wow.
And I
That's
mean,
awesome.
this stuff went on. I was trying to talk to her more, and a little while, the medium says, this dark entity has come into the room, and the little girl's not up here anymore. She's back in the back hiding. She don't like this entity. And I had recorders, in a couple different places in the house, and the recorder picks up the little girl again, hiding. So
Kids. Kids.
When you get
So-
stuff like that and interaction to what you guys are really talking about and saying, it's really, I just love it.
Yeah, the interaction is fantastic, and it's really, really great what you come up with. This is, the one thing that you honestly don't see enough of is when you're getting a lot of these EVPs and these evidence. Okay, I know I say this a lot, but I'm not a huge subscriber in ghost boxes or anything suggestive.
Right.
It's very, very, very difficult for me to believe and have validity in that because it's very, very hard to debunk.
Yeah.
What's right and what's wrong and misinterpretations and all that stuff. But the things we don't see, as much as we investigate the history, we just don't seem to see the EVPs where people are literally picking up on the southern accents and the old draws of the old days that people used to do, because people used to talk differently.
Oh, yes.
And I hear EVPs all the time that are supposedly from that are supposedly 100 years old, and and it's just like especially in particular parts of the country where that there were thick accents, and especially during that time period, you don't see them or you don't hear them very often, or you don't hear the miscellaneous EVPs that you come out with that are just downright silly. I was in a house in southern Indiana, and it was an old farmhouse, and this was a house that was it wasn't on the Underground Railroad. It was literally a plantation, and it had a lot of working slaves. I want to say at one point in time that there was 24 slave hands at that point in time, and there was a lot of speculation on mistreatment and disappearances of some of the slaves during that period of time. And I'm investigating, and we literally did probably 3 to 4 hours of just straight EVP sessions throughout the night, and it was a pretty bland, dry paranormal investigation. There really wasn't any personal experiences. There really wasn't much that happened. It was kind of just by the book thing, in and out. We'll see what the evidence shows, after we go over everything. And I'm in this investigation, and I'm asking questions, and there is a guy with a southern drawl who is cussing at me. I can't even repeat the words that came out in the EVPs.
Wow.
It was real raw emotion and anger.
Huh.
And to me, that was very, very powerful because you don't get that very often.
No.
It's not that personal. And apparently whatever it was in the house was angry at me. And it seemed like the more questions I asked, the more angrier it got. And it would call me names. And that was probably one of the best things as far as a paranormal investigation of a broad house, residential wise. As far as I was concerned, because it had so many different layers of elements to it. I'm like, here is what sounds like a southern drawl. You can definitely tell the accent from 100 years ago, the period back then, in the words that was used were all very vibrant words that they would have used in those days when they really didn't like somebody. And so it really turned out to be a really great investigation for us, but the couple moved out 3 weeks later.